Hey guys, today we'll be looking at the TyFlow plugin, specifically the terrain tools, and how you can use those to generate custom terrain for yourself and your projects. Alright, so this is the terrain tool. We'll start by birthing the terrain. This just creates like a blank slate that we can work on. So here's a project from earlier. I'll just quickly delete this so we can start with a fresh generated terrain. Alright, so this is the blank slate. We can start by going over to this tab down below, and we'll start by adding a noise modifier to the terrain. So this does exactly how this works in normal 3DSMax. It'll just create valleys and mountains and hills. It'll just create a bit of variation within that blank flat terrain. You can then play around with the strength of your generated noise modifier, if you want it to be more exaggerated or if you want it to be more subtle. We'll then add the slope modifier, so this allows us to further exaggerate that terrain, creating like a larger central mountain, a big divot for like perhaps a lake or an ocean, and then you can also change this curve over here even more to create like a volcano-esque shape or an island in the middle of a lake, things like that. So yeah, lots of playing around you can do with that. Next we've got the Terrain FX, and this does what you'd imagine it does. It just adds a bit of extra detail and FX to the terrain. So if you're planning on creating a closer render or something that's not nearly as zoomed out, you'll want to play around with this. So next would be next we'll look at the, where is it? Terrain warp, sorry. And so this further helps exaggerate that terrain that you're generating. So if you want to create something that feels like it's at a larger scale, like distant mountains and whatnot, this is exactly how you do it. And you can play around with the strength of this this warp over here by the noise filter. So next we'll look at the terrain erosion, and this does what it says. It erodes the terrain, adds that extra bit of detail. Again, if you're trying to go for realistic terrain, this is what you would add on top of the terrain FX. Oh, yeah, and then you can see it's just finished loading. It's quite heavy on the CPU, so if you're making constant changes, it can be a bit intense. So next we'll add the terrain color, probably the most important part of the terrain generating process. So this will give terrain something other than just the brown flat look it has right now. Alright, finished loading. Again, it's quite heavy on the CPU. So here's the list of presets that you can go through. For this, we'll just click on this one, just to show. But you've got a wide range of alien planets to grassy fields to mountainous, snowy terrain, whatever you need. Alright, so now we've got this new coloured terrain, so it's quite grassy, it's got like brownish coloured mountains, it adds a different texture depending on what elevation that part of the mountain is at. Alright, and so aside from changing up the different presets on that, we'll now look at the snow modifier, and this does exactly what it says. It adds a layer of thick snow that you can edit and change to your liking. Again, it's quite heavy on the CPU, but it's just finished loading. Alright, and you can see here this is just the default snow before any changes. And I'll try and alter this snow now, but while it's loading, we'll see. Either way, that's kind of the basics of TyFlow Terrain. I hope that's been helpful for you guys. Enjoy. Good luck.